Now that we know the opposition also, they've said, should the president append his signature on this particular document, we're going to the streets. Do you think mass protest is the best recourse for the opposition to contest their assented to election laws by the president? Hit us on Twitter. AMLiveNTV is a Twitter handle. AMLiveNTV is a profile name on Facebook. I'm holding court this morning with Honorable Senator Boni Khalwale, who is a senator from Kakamega. Also, we have with us Herman Manyora, who is a lecturer at the University of Nairobi, and also he's a political analyst here on People and Politics. Every Tuesday, we have Mithika Linturi with us as well, who is a member of Parliament from Igembe South, and also Jakoyo, Midiwo, the deputy leader of the Deputy Minority Leader of the National Assembly and also Member of Parliament from Igembe, and Kimani Wamatangi, who is the Senator from Kiambu. Gentlemen, let's continue. We need to observe time as well. So still, I shall show you my yellow card, just to warn you when I'm about to finish, and my red card. So should you disobey my red card, we'll chase you out of a panel this morning.
Don't.
All right.
When Boni was talking,
yes,
you showed him red card, then you showed him yellow. So I don't know which order we need to observe here.
All right, so now this next session, we need to observe that. Let's continue with this conversation because this is a serious debate. And of course, we can see also a lot of reactions on Twitter as well as far as this election law is confirmed. Is concerned. Let's we were at you.
Yes.
Yes, briefly.
I was clearly indicating where technology will require network, which is the reason why people are worried that it can fail. So at the level of registering voters using biometric voter registration devices, you do not need network. At the level of identifying the voter when he arrives in a polling station,
yes,
you do not need network. The people who are foolishly trying to mislead Kenyans, that people who do not have, for example, hands will not be able to vote, is because they don't know what biometrics means. When you don't have hands, you will be identified through your iris. Every person has a unique iris. Your earlobes are also part of biometrics. So this person will still be identified. The only thing that requires network is the transmission of the result, which means somebody can be registered as a voter, be identified to vote, he will vote, the votes will be counted, they will be announced at the polling station. The only thing that will fail is to transmit that to the next station, because that would require network. Let's assume in point X, network fails. That record of who voted, how many votes were garnered by whichever candidate will already have been announced.
All right.
So the transmission is the only one that can be delayed. It can come after 1 hour,
right,
it can come after a day or even after 2 days. The transmission can be done. But that is not enough. There is an alternative to transmitting when there is no network. You can use satellite telephones. Thank you.
All right, let's hear from Herman.
I think I don't want to go into the details of whether you need backup or not. From where I see it, really, you don't need any backup for anything. These things can work very easily, like Boni has demonstrated. In any case, if you are saying that, like Bedi Mugo was saying, Senator Bedi Mugo, that she said one thing that has two implications. You read it in two ways. One, you see, if somebody has a problem with their finger, and therefore they can't be used for biometric identification,
yes,
it means the same fellow then wasn't also registered. So it would be very easy, if there were such a people right, beforehand, we would find an alternative way of registering them. Right. So that we would not need EVIDs, electronic voter identification, yes, devices, which are electronic, to... So the second thing she said, that such a people are so many in this country. It would therefore mean we are telling us and we are telling ourselves that an electronic system can't work. Because right, there are too many. Okay? Mm-hmm. Is there anything you want me to say? Because I can see you are pointing here.
No, we are continuing. You're continuing, yes.
So I will just, by the way,
you're doing very well.
But my concern here is, where do we go from here? As a country, that's the biggest question. Where do we go from here? And I've tried to warn Boni Khalwale and his friends. First of all, Boni, let me make some small correction.
Yes.
Up to 2011, backwards, thinking resided in the western zone of this country. For example, PNU versus ODM. Thinking was with ODM. Unfortunately for you, Boni, from 2012 up to now, thinking resides on the mountain, whether you like it or not. If you are going to do the predictable, it will be indicative of lack of thinking. The guys have set a trap for you to go into demonstrations, and allow me to say quickly 4 things why demonstrations may not be the way to go. 1, it could interrupt voter registration, intentionally from Jubilee. 2, it could create a situation where the new commissioners find refuge in the government, through feeling that the government will protect them. 3, you do not have the capacity for mass action, as demonstrated with the demonstrations during the IBC, the anti-IBC demonstrations. The government didn't give in because of your demonstrations. They gave in because it was the right time to give in as a trap. Finally, listen, I'm making my point, Jakoyo Midiwo. Those 3, 4, 5 people I saw there were not enough to scare the government. Finally, and this is dangerous, you must think about it.
All right.
It could be an attempt to have the elections postponed because Jubilee can't win in August. Jubilee need time to win. If elections are held in August, they won't win. They are pushing you into postponing this election. You must be careful.
All right. So the opposition, Mithika Linturi, has already indicated that they will not accept elections conducted under manual system as proposed in the amendment. Now we have it now ascended to by the president, which is a law now. Do you think this is already a tinderbox waiting to explode? Because, of course, if they will not accept the manual outcome or the manual system as proposed in the law right now,
I think
if we go to the elections, are we just batting our heads on the wall?
Let me say that I think it's very important to choose ones that we use, because they are likely to confuse Kenyans. And I want to make it very clear. It's not the opposition that will reject Bush. I will also not accept an election where we are all going to vote to have an election that is manual. Because we will be running away from the realities of life, and especially when we are talking of digital and being a digital government, being a government that appreciates technology. But that is not to say that in a case, these are very isolated cases where there is failure in technology, then you should not find alternatives, because that will not happen in the whole country. For example, I do not expect a situation whereby there will be technological failure in the whole country. You may have it in an isolated area, one, two or three stations, and that's why I'm saying, and I think we may be talking from a lot of ignorance, and without really understanding what this particular law actually provides for. And I am sure we all cannot be naive not to appreciate the fact that technology can fail. I bank with the Barclays Bank of Kenya, and it's a first-class bank. And at times I go and I am told that there is a system failure. And for that matter, they have to give me a minute for a minute for them to confirm balance, to give me money. I am sure every person, anybody listening to us, we understand what Safaricom has done in terms of technology, bring a revolution in technology in this country with the M-Pesa. I am sure once in a while you'll find in our messages that systems you will not access M-Pesa services because there's something happening or there's a bit of failure. So what we are saying, let us create a, no, that's not what I am saying, but even in this particular case, were we reasonable enough to actually map out the country and know exactly where the incidences of probability is highest of failure, then we will only have selected that area and provide and say we can only accept this in this particular area because these others are properly backed.
All right, so, but where we're having a tripping wire is the fact that on this particular law, we are talking about alternative backup, which is not very, it is very ambiguous. Actually, they call it the complementary backup electronic system. But have we endeavored to actually clarify what is this alternative backup system? Because this is where we're having the tripping wire.
Yeah.
And we're opening up a Pandora's box.
Yes.
So why haven't we interrogated to get clarification on what alternative or complementary backup election system is all about? What is it?
Debarl, let me end by saying...
No.
in
Your
fact,
time is up.
the best thing
Let's hear from Honorable Jakoyo. Just hold on to your thought. We'll come back to you.
You know, let me just say, you know, my friend says that Safaricom has capability, notwithstanding the Safaricom involvement
Yes.
in the rigging of 2007 elections and 2013 elections. Involvement. You are talking about a company that if these MPs who are sitting here were sincere to Kenyans, should be split several times, like it happens world over. He is just talking about Safaricom. But Debarl, why would somebody want to make a law to rig elections? Why would there a rigging law? Would there be a rigging law that advantages only one side? I am telling you, and I'm telling Boni Khalwale here, my brother, that it's the most foolish thing to go to these elections with this kind of law. You know, the good professor has said, if elections were held by August, there's no Jubilee winning. It means we in court have the numbers. That is a professor talking, and it's good to listen to a professor. You know, yesterday somebody, I didn't go to school, that I have a diploma in, what do you call those things? In catering. But I would love to go to school so that a professor is the one guiding my conscience.
All right. So let's see, because you also say there is this tyranny of numbers that we are using here, and I would love also my director to just speak up. But the Jubilee used numbers to impose new law. This is what you were saying, and you quoted in one of the dailies. And we can go on to just see what you said also in that particular daily. You said that, first of all, that there is no way the country can go into the elections with the current electoral laws. Jubilee is hell-bent on creating disquiet in the country, and that is evident with the kind of election laws they are putting in place. And you have a suggestion that they should go back to the drawing board, right? That they should go back to deliberate. This is what you actually said, if I may quote you. You say that, where is it? You've expressed the need to take back the recently amended election laws to the Joint Select Parliamentary Committee on IBC reforms for further deliberation. Don't you think we have passed that particular Rubicon to actually go back there?
No, we have not. We have not. Because the next step, Debarl, take this thing to Boni and Orengo and Kiraitu. I was shocked at Kiraitu. He's so-called governor. I hope he loses. But the thing is, I really hope Munya wins. But if we as Kenyans cannot agree on just conducting free and fair elections, don't you think it's a good time to discuss as Kenyans how to live separately as Kenyans?
All right, thank you. Your time is up. Let's hear from Senator Wamatangi. Senator, this particular document was a negotiated document, right?
Yes.
Between the opposition and all the government as well, or the Jubilee representation as well.
That's right.
And of course, it went now to Parliament, it went to Senate, and it was passed. And then people are wondering, if you, so to speak, you have a contractual agreement and you have clauses there, is it not logical for you to actually, if you're making any amendments or changes to any particular clause, for you to come back with that particular contractual agreement with the party that you entered to with that contractual agreement? Why should you go full steam ahead with a negotiated document and you have amendments in that particular document and you, one party, just go full steam ahead without consulting the other party?
You know, Debarl, if
Do you think there's a dark underbelly to that yourself?
If anyone made that argument, they would be very insincere, illogical.
No, but it is just.
This
is just how logic goes.
You asked me a question.
No.
Wait for my answer, because you've asked me a question. This is my answer. If you asked that question, you would be completely illogical. You would be completely not in understanding of how Parliament works. You see, this law was passed by that committee, which was itself appointed by Parliament, both houses, in plenary, where all parties sit. And we only delegated that role to those few individuals, go and come up with this law.
Yes.
After that has been done, the nature and how Parliament works is that once you pass a law, it is eternally subject to amendments at any one time by any sitting member. The amendments that were done to this particular law were not done exclusive to CORD. They were being debated in Parliament, in the chamber of the National Assembly, where CORD sits. Instead of CORD participating in this debate to either give it merit or demerit in debate, they chose to bring some of their female members of Parliament to sing and dance and whatever and try to block the speaker instead of deliberating. When it came to the Senate, the strategy that CORD adopted was not to contribute to the debate, but to seek and find ways to block the debate. And they were in the chamber. You would only make a claim that CORD was excluded from this process if the law was made out of Parliament. But they sit in the same chamber.
It is my understanding also, when we had the chair of Select Committee, Kiratu Murungi, he had a press conference. He came and he was very categorical that, yes, we have this particular document. It's the deliberation of a joint Select Committee, and we wish the document is not amended, that no I's should be actually dotted or any T's crossed. Wasn't not just to ask you this particular, wasn't that the sentiment of the chair, that he expressed the desire that there will be no amendment to this particular law?
I'm a member of Parliament, so let me explain to you how this works. Once you have been given that mandate or that role as a select committee,
yes,
you go sit, deliberate, come up with a law the way they did. Once you come to the chamber, you table that law. Once you table it and it is adopted by Parliament, it becomes property of Parliament. It's no longer in the jurisdiction of that select committee. And when it is owned by Parliament, when it is owned by Parliament, then it is subject to all those amendments. Now, you have 30 seconds. You are raising the red card because of disagreement.
No, this is yellow. This is yellow. I'm telling you, your time is almost up.
My point. My point is you asked a question and I have to answer to you the way it is. Because you see, let's not create that narrative, because that's what CORD has been trying to do, that this was done without us. It is with them. And that is why I started my debate this morning by telling you that indeed at the first stage of this law, CORD voted to the man for this law. It was made together in that select committee. We came to Parliament to vote, all of us, and them voted for it 100%. Why is it that now it is convenient? But let me even make a more important point.
Your time is up, sir. Your time is up. Hold on to that thought. We'll come back to you. Let's hear from. No. We go sequentially. No, your time is up. Hold on to your thought. Let's hear from. Don't say I'm unfair. I've given you enough time.
Stand in between them.
All right. Let's hear from Boni. We start. We'll come back to you, sir. Thank you,
Professor. I think. Give me. Wamatangi, please desist from disparaging our women members of Parliament. I can assure you, one of the person, I
mean, but they were there.
Can you relax?
Dancing.
Can you relax?
And hurling insults.
Handle him.
All right.
I can confirm to you that one of the women you are not happy with is Millie Odhiambo. And if I allowed you to debate with Millie, she can out-debate you on anything under the sun. She is very good. She would remind you, Wamatangi, that yes,
that's according to your narrative.
No, Millie would remind you.
And your guidebook.
Millie would remind you, Wamatangi.
And if the debate is about insults.
Yes. Millie would remind you
and
that there is a difference. There's a difference, Wamatangi, between an ordinary bill
No. You know,
and a negotiated bill.
My friend, how can you try
Allow
to
me to educate you on what you don't
No, let
know.
him finish. Let him finish. We're giving you time. No. So let him finish.
The issue is not about, I mean, how would you be telling me about somebody who goes to undress in Parliament? And say that they would...
Okay, can you just let him finish.
Now,
Let him finish.
There is a difference, Wamatangi, between an ordinary bill, the way you have tried to express here, and a negotiated bill. A negotiated bill, in parliamentary practice, and this was not the first time, it is usually passed as it is. I want to remind you, in 1997, when you were nowhere near Parliament, a negotiated bill was passed as it was that gave birth to something called IPPG, and it stabilized the country. Thereafter, after the post-election violence in 2008, the National Reconciliation Bill was passed as it was. It stabilized the country. So this one was passed the way it was because we wanted to end the street process, and it stabilized the country. Jubilee, you owe it to Kenyans that you abide by that tradition. You send back this misguided bill to the Joint Parliamentary Committee to renegotiate if there are areas you wish to so advance.
Your record
That
is
is it.
Thank you. Let's hear from Herman Manyora.
Yes.
Professor.
That is it.
Now, let me stand
Just
in between parliamentarians.
Please do.
And I want to repeat what I've said. And this is for the ears of one Boni Khalwale. Listen carefully, Boni. From the removal of the commissioners, in other words, when the government and Jubilee ceded that we can remove the commissioners, the formation of the select committee, to the passing of the law, and now to the amending of the same law before 6 months. These are deliberate plans by Jubilee to always set you up. And what you do is the most predictable thing. Right now, you are going to fall into the same trap by doing the most predictable thing. This amendment will have the following effect. One, there are going to be protests, I know. Arising out of that, but by design from the other side, people sit down to talk. The product of that talk to end the disruptions and the disturbances and the demonstrations that are going to follow this amendment, arising out of those talks, you can take this to the bank, Boni, will be the postponement of the elections, which is what Jubilee desires. A united opposition such as is forming now under NASA. Jubilee cannot beat it in August. They cannot beat it. And therefore, they desire to have time. And that's why this amendment has come. You must be careful, because they will use these amendments. As you go to the streets, they will then sit down with you, and you will all agree the changes to be done or to be made cannot be made if elections are held in August. Jubilee wants time. And by the next date of election, be it December or March next year, the unit you now have will have disappeared to the high heavens, and Jubilee will win, hands down.
All right, so
That's my case.
All right, so you hold with this view, Mithika Linturi, that this is a trap from the Jubilee government. They've come up with this, what they call the complementary backup to electoral system, which is very ambiguous. We do not really understand. And of course, this is bound also to ruffle the opposition, who will go, as they've been very categorical, they're going back to the streets because of this manual system. Yes, and of course, we also read that particular, the particular opinion by Mutai Ngunyi on Sunday. Yes, that this also will also precipitate violence, and we will have a forced coalition. And we'll have, the Right Honorable Raila Odinga as the Prime Minister. So
Okay.
do you think, from your own estimation, that this is particularly a trap from the Jubilee administration?
One thing is that I have not read Mutai Ngunyi's piece.
But you agree with what Professor is saying as well?
No, I was so busy on the ground on a Sunday.
I'm congratulating you did well.
So no, if I knew what this, I take him as serious writer, and I wouldn't mind sharing his views. So that is not the reason. So let me say that personally, I don't think there is any move to postpone the election. I am sure even the law as it is today, it's not possible to extend the 8th August deadline. Because for you to do that, because it's the Constitution, you need to make a constitutional amendment. And
a referendum.
No, you don't require a referendum, Boni. You don't require a referendum. So the date for the next, for 2017 election is set on 8th. So, and I want to also to make it very clear that I don't think Professor is right by saying that as things are today, NASA will beat Jubilee. I think if the opinion polls are anything to go by, you see Uhuru Kenyatta has been scoring 50% and above. Number two, what are you talking about NASA when in today's paper, Khalwale himself and Weta are saying Mudavadi in NASA is a project for Jubilee. You see what happened on that first. People are supposed to share out their own interests for sake of our community or for the bigger interest of our community or our nation. What happened in Kakamega in Western when Atoli and called these guys to just get a Linda who can really champion.
Okay, we'll come back to that.
They never went
let's
there.
keep with the track
So I am trying to say the thinking that NASA will hold or is so cohesive, I think it's, to me, is a mirage. It's almost a fallacy.
All right, so we have Honorable Mutula Kilonzo Jr. saying that the amendment election laws, which is now law that was sent to by the president, will lead to violence unless the courts reverses them. He said opposition senators put a spirited fight to reverse the amendments, but they were outnumbered by the Jubilee legislators, and he does not understand why the government introduced the amendments. Why did we introduce these amendments in the first place?
No, first of all, do you want to go before me? Go. Yeah, you say
I can.
One of you go. You must be mom when I'm talking.
All right, no.
Because he wasn't prepared for that.
If you're not prepared, let's go to Wamatangi, who seem to be more prepared today.
I can take it, you know.
Today you seem to be so subdued. Okay, let's hear from Wamatangi.
Because, I think the best befitting question to follow that one would be, what are these amendments that have really brought all this passion out and in the opposition? What is the actual amendment? And you see, the biggest opposition to this amendment, Debarl, it is in my head, I know, was in section 44A, in which we have this introduction or the amendment that introduces a complementary backup system. That's the bone of contention.
Yes.
And you know, what you would ask yourself and what Kenyans need to ask themselves literally is, what is this fight about the word complementary?
Yes.
Backup system. And since we started this debate, this has been the issue. You have talked about it. Every contributor here have talked about it. The insinuated meanings of this word complementary and what it might portend. But I'll tell you, and I want to start from where I started. The fight about this is not about the wording of that particular law, either complementary, backup, or what. And Senator Khalwale tried to make some explanations, which, in my view, do not add up. You know, when he tried to say that you can vote once you have already voted, the vote can be counted at the polling station, the results have been announced, and you know you have, how many elections have you participated in, Senator Khalwale?
4.
Many, 4. And you know that the last time when you ran for your position as senator, your votes are counted in all the polling stations.
Yes.
They are announced there,
yes.
but then they are relayed
yes.
to your tallying center,
yes.
and which is central for a county. And that is why they're put together. So once you say that, for example, in a presidential election, that's happening in the entire country, yes. that we should ignore the fact that if, for example, networks are not working, that those results would require to be transmitted in real time or in the fastest possible time so that you can have a result. Remember, when we went to war or to fight in the 2007-2008 elections, the issue was, it started that results are being delayed. They're not coming.
So manual
and people forget the word manual. You know, Professor, what is this passion you're having? There's no word manual. So anyway, let me make my point before you know.
Your yellow is up, sir.
Let me make my point because
Your yellow is up.
Professor,
Be winding up.
and I want to wish Professor Happy New Year. He's in absolute. I don't know what happened to you. It was last year. Welcome to this new year, and come back as the same professor you are. You have been contributing. I mean, have you become a poet, man? Because
all right, your time is up, sir. No. Your time is up. Let's hear from Professor. We'll come back to you.
Let me say something.
What do you mean?
Oh, okay, yeah. Sorry. Let's hear from Jakoyo.
Go then I'll say something, please.
Yes, please.
From you, Debarl.
Because this is important
First
for the
of all,
viewers.
to my friend Mithika Linturi, this issue of opinion poll and Uhuru Kenyatta winning, please call Hillary Clinton. If you don't have the number, we'll give you. And Boni Khalwale knew the winner, and it happened that way. Like now, Boni knows that CORD and NASA will win the next presidential elections. The good professor, like I said, had said that maybe Jubilee wants to postpone elections. Professor, let me just tell you, with the law assented to by His Excellency, the President of Kenya yesterday, there shall never be elections in Kenya.
Right?
I am telling you for free, and you can take it to the bank if it is Equity or National Bank under the Nation building. We will not accept it because we know what they intend to do. You know, when they say, first of all, that law, you know what that law says? Khalwale said that there shall never be more than 500 voters in a polling station. But you know what Duale has done? 700 voters, Duale and Ruto. It means you shall staff 200 votes per polling station in favor of Jubilee. Never. Not in this country. Not again.
Not ever.
All right, thanks.
Secondly,
Yes.
why you just let these people talk on and on. No, it will not happen. Let me just tell you. You know,
What are you telling the country?
I am telling the country that the people will not vote with this law that is meant for rigging.
Say it outright.
I have just.
Can I come in? Because that was my
No, I got it, but I want to say one other
Not to have
thing.
an election.
Yes,
This has
one
been the
thing
scheme
that I
by
can-
CORD.
I just want to say one other thing.
So
Maybe
say it.
My last thing to say. Why are you allowing him to talk over me?
No, I mean, you know, I'm
Okay, let it- okay.
I'm only helping him to
sir,
bring
just
up
give
the
him
truth.
some- let him finish.
I have
Okay,
told
let
you
him
we
finish.
will
Look
not
at him.
vote.
This has been your
All right,
scheme.
We will
let's
not-
have some decorum. Just go on.
We will not allow voting under this current law because it is not a good law. And it would be nice to have peace in our country.
All right.
But
Your time is up, sir. Thank
Yes,
you.
can I say something?
Yes, we have Jackton hanging on the line. We'll come to
I
you.
wanted to clarify for the sake of the viewers what the kind of misleading information Wamatangi is giving. But before that, because I've been tasked to explain what I mean by NASA with Victoria, and some will say they can't win. First of all, you must debunk the tyranny of numbers. There's no tyranny anymore.
Hakuna.
Because look here, if you look at the demographic reality in this country, if you put the Kikuyu and the Kalenjin, because these are our brothers and my brother and my in-laws, the Kikuyus, they are 30% of this country at most. Okay? So how then can they have that tyranny of numbers? You can do the tabulations, you can add a bit of Upper Eastern, as you add Upper Eastern, on the other side, you add the other side. So there's no way, there's no tyranny of numbers. Anybody in this country, either side can win comfortably if they do their game properly. So let's now move to this idea of backup system. I have said you do not need it. for the sake of viewers, if in the transmission, which is the only time you need network, if there's a network failure, first of all, you can't carry, if you carry the votes physically, it will take even longer. By the time you get to Nakuru from Kakamega, the network will have come back. So, but the most important thing, Wamatangi, is this. There is a fund in this country. Now it has over 3 billion to kind of ensure there is network coverage in this country where it will be uneconomical for Safaricom or Airtel or any mobile telephone provider to install 3G. There is a fund. It's not being used. But more importantly, Boni Khalwale has told you,
What did he
you
say?
can use satellite television, phones. With a satellite phone, you don't need 3G or any network, my friend.
That's
That's
what
what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Listen,
If
please.
your complementary
Learn to
backup
listen.
is called 3G,
listen.
define it as 3G.
Learn to listen, Wamatangi.
Look at
This
your
is the
iPhone.
thing you find in the Constitution.
I think-
when people want to allow abortion, they say that life is, you can't do whatever with life, but a doctor, unless life is in danger, but a doctor would not need any law
All right, thank
to
you, sir.
save any mother.
Okay,
So
we have
it's being smuggled in to allow abortion. In
Thank
the
you.
same way,
But Prof,
you do not need any law to move from 3G to satellite.
Thank you.
But you know,
Thank you.
what-
We have
what
callers
do
who
you
are
require
going
to
to just hang on.
understand? What do
You
you
need
require to
a law.
understand?
Senator Wamatangi.
Zero. Because satellite
You
is
see,
electronic. Yeah.
Prof,
So which law do you need?
Just-
what
okay,
you
hold
require
on.
to understand,
Hang on,
this
hang
is
on,
the
sir.
election for a president, not
Which
for a
law
class
do you
prefect.
need
Thank
to
you.
move from 3G
You know, so when you say that you will have voted
to-
and network
to
will have
satellite.
come back by
All right,
the time
just a
you
moment.
finish. What are you
Let's.
saying?
Okay, thank you, Wamatangi. We have
You don't need
callers
to
who are
change the
hanging
law.
on the line, and we want to take up
didn't change
Jackson,
the line.
who's
No,
hanging
no,
on the line.
no.
Good morning,
You're
Jackson.
right.
Jackson, good morning.
Good morning. My name is Jackson Corner.
Yes,
Yes, Jackson.
I'm calling from Nairobi,
please. Yes,
but home is Nandi County.
yes.
What I want to say is that Kenya belongs to all of us.
Yes.
Kenya belongs to all of us. That's a fact. And I start by a prayer.
Yes.
My prayer is that God is going to open the eyes of all of us.
Yes.
First in Rift Valley,
Yes.
and then in the Central, and then the entire Kenya. Why am I saying so? It's because in 2007 election, even a mad person knew who won. In 2013, 2 million people voted for president only. Isn't that ridiculous?
It is.
So what I'm saying is this: in our culture in Nandi, there's a saying that say the firewood that is tabut, where we keep fire, love what that is fire. What makes us in Rift Valley think that we are so special that what happens to Raila in 2007 and 2013 is not going to happen to us when our man Rudo will be buying. What we want a fair justice election. But I'm going to be happy we won, and whoever is going to lose is going to be happy we lose. This Kenya belongs to all of us.
Thank you.
And my brother from Central, I want to tell you this, that in Kenya, there is no winner in war or in turmoil, but there are those who are going to lose more. Another thing I want to tell the panelists, Kenya is right to be united, very right to be united. And Kenya is going to be united by our brothers in Central, leading the fight against corruption, leading the fight against tribalism. And then we in this valley are going to follow them.
Thank you.
The rest of the country is going to join us.
Thank you, Jackson.
There, we are going to keep the government of the day in check.
Thank you, Jackson.
If we are going to support it, then we risk, our brothers risk being isolated. in
Thank you.
future.
Thank you. We have Dan also hanging on the line. Good morning, Dan.
Good morning, Debarl. How are you?
Very well, thank you. You have a question or a
I
contribution?
want to make it very clear to the gentleman in studio
Yes.
that you can never run an honest election in a dishonest environment.
Yes.
And the law that has been passed by Parliament and offended by the President is not going to help this country move forward in terms of trying to cohese and put the country together.
Yes.
Correct.
And this goes to Wamatangi. This was not a usual law. It was as a result of a negotiation that was done between court and Jubilee.
Please.
And the best that they could have done if they wanted to make this reach this country united was to again call them if they said that is something that they wanted to change in that law. But what the president did yesterday to assent that law is actually trying to create a very honest environment and thinking that we are going to have an election that is credible in August. And therefore, to me, I think there is more that needs to be done by this government to ensure that we have a credible election in August. When you are in a football field, you cannot have one team setting some rules for themselves, while another is actually standing and watching.
Yes.
That will never become a game, and it will never be fair to this country. We need our country back, and this goes to the president. He has to think about this country and not the supporters who actually voted for him in 2013.
Right. Thank you very much, Dan and Jackton over there. And of course, they'll respond also to your sentiments as well. But we want also to play, just we hack back to what was happening last week in regard to this particular discussion that we're having with the election laws. Of course, there was a moment that was given to the public to air their views. And this is what happened. Let's see also, first of all, what happened and what was the sentiments of the Attorney General, Githu Muigai.
The electronic system is almost guaranteed because that is the nature of electronics.
Are we saying the alternative is to spirit using a Farasi all the from 16S from Garissa to Nairobi? What is that you are talking about, the alternative? The alternative is just some strange cooking.
In order to make this voting efficacious, we must promulgate regulations because that's where the worry is. We must promulgate regulations that make it absolutely clear under what circumstances do you resort to the manual system. And that must be very detailed, very clear, very widely negotiated.
The real issue is the voters who don't turn up and we end up voting for them manually, identifying them manually.
All right. So when we look at that particular sentiment, especially by the Attorney General, that is the nature of electronics. They are bound to fail. Do you hold with this view? Because if we hold with the view of the Attorney General, that means then we'll be having air crashes every day because they are flying by wire, right? And of course, we see a lot of the air crash accidents that we have. First of all, it's due to human error. The manual system that they use, most of them on the landing and on the takeoff, right? So do you think the Attorney General was right to tell us that this is bound to fail, right? You've had also the Bomet governor saying that this is a cooking from the Jubilee administration. What is the alternative? What we are asking here, what is the alternative backup system that you're talking about?
In my view, Debarl, on that particular, the specific one, on what the Attorney General was saying, in his wording, I think it is his wording that is wrong as far as the law is concerned, because nowhere in the law does it speak about a manual system.
Yes.
And you know, maybe the point he wanted to make by saying that electronics are always bound to fail is that indeed they do fail. Anyway, that's the point. And but it's not that they're made to fail. But by nature, they do fail. That's a matter of fact. You can't run away from that. And the question of the complementary system, and this is what we have to tell Kenyans this morning, because I think the curiosity of Kenyans is this: what are you saying? Is this alternative system? That is the curiosity. And as my colleagues here have said, you know, whether you say it is something called 3G or a new network or whatever, but specify it and remember, Debarl, one of the most important things, and this is the point I want to make. In that law, there is Section 4 of that law, which says that 90 days to the election, the IEBC will open the register for scrutiny by everybody and anyone. And once that has been opened, if there are any issues about any voter that you think is not supposed to be there, you raise it. You go to any system.
Okay,
but let me make a last point.
We have a few seconds to
let me make a last one, because you see, I've seen something here on Twitter.
Yes, just a moment. Just let him finish. Just let him finish.
I've seen something on Twitter here. No, just wait.
Just a moment. Let him finish.
You have to respond. No, just wait first. You're going. You know, I've seen something here. I've seen here something on Twitter, and I want to be sure that what we are saying here is what is reported on Twitter. saying that at Wamatangi says that Jubilee is not ready for the elections. Can you have that corrected? I have said Jubilee is ready for the elections tomorrow morning.
Even yesterday.
No, but
Tomorrow, even yesterday.
But before
and
you
we
finish
have been on a forward march to having the elections in August.
All right, thank you.
Only that we have had to
let
pray
me answer this
and to
question.
deal
Thank
with
you,
the
sir.
destructions of court.
Your red card is up.
Please,
Let's
let
hear
him
from...
answer this question.
Yes, we need to be winding
Let
up.
me answer this question in the interest of the viewers.
Yes.
What, if it is not manual, what then is this complementary or alternative arrangement?
It can be
Before
an
you answer, please, I want you to get an A.
Yes.
If it is not manual, listen, please,
Okay, let him finish. We're strapped for time, sir.
But I want you to answer this correctly and get an A. If this alternative that you are being forced to put into law is not manual, then this begs the question, why would you need to amend a law, for example, to move from one electronic system to another electronic, when already the law provides for electronic? In other words, whether you transmit results by telephone using 3G
Yes.
or by satellite, it is still electronic. You do not need to amend the law.
All
Now
right.
tell the viewers,
Thank you, sir.
explain
Let's hear
to the
from Midiwo.
viewers
Let's hear from
what you
Midiwo.
mean by this.
You will answer. You'll answer that.
complementary
Let's hear
if
from
it's not
Debarl.
manual.
Let's hear from as you're winding up, please. Just a moment. You will
on my
answer.
behalf.
Let's just hear from Midiwo as we prepare to wind up.
But don't answer on my behalf. I will answer at my time.
Okay, Midiwo, can you
What
answer
continue?
your own?
We're strapped for time.
There's nothing to answer. I want to say something different from this Jubilee rigging thing, because this one we shall never accept. And Boni is speaking for me. And if you allow me, I just want to say only two things, I beg you. First one.
You have 1 minute.
Just 1 minute is enough.
Thank you.
Why
We have
being
strapped
so
for
harsh
time.
on me? The first one, that I want not to leave Professor Matiang'i alone.
You want to?
I'm changing the debate.
No.
No, please, just two things. Just please, I beg you. Professor Matiang'i, and it makes me feel like a Kenyan. Makes me feel like Jubilee cannot smother me. At least there's one Jubilee person who is good, Professor Matiang'i. So, Sion, leave Matiang'i.